This
better
conference will now be recorded.
And can you? I guess you can see my screen then.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't bother with trying to make that bigger because I only have one little thing, and then I'm going to turn all the time over to Brad. So let's go ahead and get our meeting started. Welcome to our October technical meeting. Thank you guys for joining us. The main topic is, as you can see on the screen here, Brad and also CFO are the heat program director, are going to give us a little bit of guidance on some heat program qualification updates, and then Brad's going to talk about our client qualification workbook revisions. The only thing I had for you guys is just an upcoming training opportunity. October, we're doing a BPI Energy Auditor class. We have 3 people that are signed up for that class. I do still have 1 seat left. I'm not aware of anybody out there who is on track to fill that seat, but if there is anybody out there that's scrambling to get that done, let me know. But that's the only upcoming training opportunity I'm aware of. Is anybody aware of anything else that this group should know about that's coming up?
Nothing I can
All right,
think of.
and again, send them our way and we'll share them with the group. So with that, Brad, let me turn it over to you. I don't know if I need to hit a button here to unshare or.
Oh, I can probably figure out how to do it.
All right.
Let's see here. Or not.
Do it really slow and make me feel better.
We're actually going to hand it over to CFO next. I promised her from the very first day I met her I would never butcher her last name, and so I'm not going to attempt to pronounce it. But CFO is our Community Services Office Manager. The heat program operates under her, and as you all are probably very well aware of, they're transitioning over to a new qualification system. I've got a training video that I eventually that she's developed for us that we'll hand out to the network and start doing some training on that. But just to give her a few minutes of time and let her update us on the qualification tools they're deploying and anything else that's happening in the heat program, since we're so closely aligned with them. Without further ado, CFO.
All right, thanks, Brad. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and I'm on here twice because I have to use my screens and then I'm showing my face on my phone. So, all right, well, good morning, everyone. It's good to be here with you. Just a little bit about what we're doing. We have officially transitioned out of SealWorks. SealWorks is no longer being used as an eligibility tool for the HEAT program as of September 30th, or I should say October 1st. So last week, Thursday, we transitioned to the new system, EREP. And EREP is basically the eligibility system that DWS uses for all of their other public assistance programs. And so for the last, I'd say about 6 months, we've been working with the developers to build HEAT in EREP. And so we've done extensive training with all of the workers, and we were ready to roll out and officially go live on October 1st, which we've done. So, and then since then, it's just been a lot of troubleshooting. But all in all, it's been a successful transition with minor glitches and system issues, but we're pretty happy with the transition and the new system. So today I've been asked to, I guess, train on how you would obtain your weatherization certificates from EREP, the EREP system. And so the process is pretty similar, I would say, to SealWorks in that you need to log in. So hopefully you've all received a login. I know that a lot of the heat supervisors or managers from the heat agencies are trying to help your staff get logins to weatherize or to EREP for view only access so that you could see the certificates and print them. If you don't have access, then please let us know so that we can tell you what steps to take so you can get access, okay? I think I'm just gonna go ahead and show you or share a link with you to a video that I created for this training. It's about a 16-minute video. So watch that. If you have the ability to log on to eRep and follow along, that'd be great. You would probably need a case though, which I can probably give you. I'll give you a test case to do. But go ahead and
That's that same video you've sent me, right, Sipo?
yes. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll send that,
Okay.
and then if he gives me that test case, I'll just bundle it all up and send it out to him later today.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That'll
let
work.
me grab the link real quick. And I'll put it in the chat box here. This link is also on YouTube, so our DWS YouTube channel. So if you wanted to save it as a favorite, you could do that. And then let me grab that test case real quick. Maybe. Okay, here's one.
This training video is for weatherization workers.
Okay, so if you are able to log into eRep, go ahead and do that. And then when you get to the home screen that opens up, there's a search bar on the very right. And you can put in, actually, you'd have to click on search at the very top. Click on search and then it says case number. There's a field for case number. Just copy and paste this case number in, and then you'd be able to follow along with the video. So, and then I'll be here after the video to answer questions.
Alrighty. So you want me to go ahead and run that? I don't know if we'll get audio.
Sure, they can run it or they can watch it on their own. I don't know, is everybody had a computer? If not, yeah, definitely run it.
Most of them are kind of meeting as group right now, so we'll, like I said, you got
yeah.
the link here. I've also got it captured. I will send that out
Oh,
after
sure.
the meeting, and you guys can, the intake folks that are working on that. Likewise, if you have, if you still haven't got your access and login information, let me know that too, and we can forward that up through her team and get that going. But the one thing she does point out, SealWorks is still turned on. You can still go in and get the certificates that were issued under that system prior to them transitioning, which is going to be the bulk of the clients right now that you're receiving. So don't get overly concerned or stressed out that there's this transition to this new system and you don't have access or anything right now. The truth is the clients you're going to be serving here in the next few weeks is we get you up and running in the eRep system are still going to be coming in under the old SealWorks system. One of the things that you'll find with the new system is it finally is getting more back to Social Security based, where we always had that problem with you know, they worked the SealWorks system was always working off of Social Security numbers, and we didn't know whose name the heat certificate was in sometimes. This system, because it is much broader and smarter, it doesn't matter who applies. If you enter one of their Social Security numbers and they come up tied to a household, they will show back up. So you'll be able to track down the current heat certificate in the new system much, much easier. So that will make your lives much simpler. Trust me. Which that was always a big challenge, was trying to figure out who to search for in SealWorks if you didn't have the client name. So Anything else on the horizon with the heat program, CFO?
We are moving to a year-long program statewide. So in the past, up until this past year, we had 3 agencies that were providing heat services year-round. And now we're transitioning to all agencies providing services year-round. So anywhere in the state, you know, if a customer applies, they can apply. Well, if they are in need, they can apply for services. And we are dividing up the year between heating and cooling. So the heating months will be October 1 to May 30th, and then June 1 to September 30th are cooling months. Households are still only eligible for one benefit in a season. So the season is the entire, year. But we're dividing the months up just for my reporting purposes. And it just makes sense. It makes sense that someone's getting cooling instead of heating in the summer. So that's probably a big change. And then also we are moving to change our name pretty soon. That'll probably won't happen until the spring, and I actually don't know what the name will be yet. We're playing around with a couple of things, but it'll still be something related to energy assistant. It'll be energy assistant something, some play on that. But we're waiting on communications to kind of help us figure out what that name will be. But yeah, so that'll be a big deal too for a lot of people transitioning from it being having been heat for so long. So let's see. I don't know. My mind is shot.
At least you're sounding better today. You were not feeling at all last week, so.
Yeah, I know. I still sound like a dude, but oh well.
Whatever. All right. Is there anybody else have any questions for CFO while we got her here? All right. Seeing none in the chat and hearing none, I guess we'll get on with the rest of the show. Thanks again very much, CFO. Appreciate it. Like I said, we'll
thank you.
get the video out to them. Like I said, I'll follow up with your team on that list of people that don't have login access and things like that. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll have everybody up and running, I think.
Okay, yeah, don't hesitate to reach out with questions.
Yeah, and in the meantime, if there is any gaps in there where a new client has came through the door, just work with your local heat office to make sure we get a copy of that cert as we get you guys up and running. So.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a good meeting.
Thanks again, CFO.
Uh-huh.
All right. So today, the next part is talking about the revised client workbook. Those of you that came to the technical training, you may recall, one of the things we were looking at, or what I was talking about was just, refocusing exactly what it is and how we approach the program, and understanding that, our ultimate goal is to improve the lives of the low-income households we serve. We accomplish that, of course, like we talked about in the presentation, doing our building science and methods and installing the retrofits, but it's through there that we better serve those households and make a difference in their lives. As also part of my presentation, I went on a rampage, shocking, about the cost of electric space heat and how many times our clients are feeling like that electric space heat is really saving them money because they're only heating that one portion of the home that they're occupying, when in reality, of course, it probably is costing them a lot more money to do that. And so one of the tools that we've put together for you all is a client qualification workbook. This was built several years ago, and it was just strictly to do the income calculations and the priority points, and it was a method to collect the energy usage data from the billing histories when we process the client. What I've got up here on the screen is, so just these are some basic workbook tips These are a little bit more oriented towards Excel, but Google Sheets behaves the same way. And one of the things, it's kind of a terms we use interactive is spreadsheet and workbook. A workbook is nothing more than a bunch of spreadsheets that could potentially interact and work with each other. This particular tool, the Client Qualification Workbook, is actually got like 6 or 7 different spreadsheets that are all reading and pulling data from different tabs. And so the whole book is actually working together. Some of those basic reminders again, most of the things when we build tools for you, especially in Excel and Google Sheets, we've kind of fell into a style of trying to use the yellow highlight feature as a field that would be require a user input. You know, and one of the things to remember too, on when you're working from a document like this, the master is always on the state WAP resources page, and you want to always be working from if you're going to download that and save it to your desktop or somewhere, you need to be absolutely certain that you have the right version, because again, it's tied to those income tables and the percentage of poverty and all those things, and that's the only way it'll qualify the client correctly. There is one tab on there that is the income calculator tab, and that is for DOE income rules only. You should never be putting LIHEAP's heat certificate information in that tab at all. There's some new tabs that we're going to show you here in a few minutes that in some cases they're working on some hard assumptions like actual fuel costs and things like that. And so they are general in terms of accuracy. In some places where your cost of electricity is cheaper or cost of electricity is higher than Rocky Mountain Power. But since Rocky Mountain Power has like a 70-some% market share in the state, I felt that was, and they're actually about the center of the fuel cost anyway for electricity. So most of those costs are calculated based on using RMP expenses. And then one thing that did come up in a little bit of feedback I got is you have clients that are getting paid weekly sometimes. There was a column frequency of payment added several years ago to the calculator. And if you're having individuals, because you need 1 month minimum of income, you would just want to combine the 4 weeks and report it as 1 month. It still works out as 52 weeks in the year, so that the client's not getting penalized or anything by using that methodology. So just treating it as a 1 year versus, or excuse me, a 1 month with 4 weeks, that gets you the bare minimum on that. And then on the right side there, I just have some basic errors that you see sometimes in Excel and in Google Sheets. And most cases, when you're getting any of these errors, I put some explanations off to the right, but it's looking for some kind of data or there's some type of invalid input. And more than likely, when you're working with the income calculator, or excuse me, the client qualification workbook that we have here today, it's looking for data from another spreadsheet, or excuse me, one of the other sheets, and you just need to go back and make sure you've got all the boxes filled out. And that's usually what's going on. Every once in a while, you get an extra space or a decimal in a cell, and it kind of freaks it out too. But those are some of your more typical cell errors. And so if you're getting one of that, it's probably missing some information somewhere. And then, like I said, I mentioned the effective date, and on almost every sheet, you're going to find that in the lower right corner. And depending on when the document was pushed out, and you'll see something that looks like that on most of those. So with that being said, here is our new workbook. And if you look down here at the bottom, like I said, we used to just have the income calculator, energy burden, and priority points tab. We've added electrical and gas consumption tabs, an auditor input tab, and 2 client ed tabs. All of these should still, I messed with it a little bit yesterday after I got a few suggestions from some folks, and most of these still are formatted, it should be. I double checked them all yesterday to where they'll print on a single page, no problem. So that way you can print it off and put it in the client file or convert to a PDF if you're doing electronic. One of the things with this, again, where it's interactive, is that, when you start at this first tab and put the client information in, that populates over to all the other tabs, so you know which client this particular workbook is for. One of the really common things you'll find an error later on if you do not select this cell here for the number of people in the household, which, by the way, we've got 13. If you ever go above 13, give me a call. I can fix that. But I think I went through quite a few historical records, and I never found a household we served that reported more than that many people. So that's why I think I went with that number. And like I said, but if you do fail to select that number, it will create some of those errors that I showed you on the previous screen in different sections of the workbook, and it can really, give you some bad input. So, like I said, we were talking about the frequency of payment section here. We have the 1 month, every 2 weeks, and 1st and 15th of the month. So, like I said, if you do get that client, or excuse me, weekly, you would just go ahead and select the 1 month. And when you're doing the pay periods provided, you would not put 4, even though they gave you 4 pay stubs. If you did that, that would imply they gave you 4 months worth of income. So you would still only select 1 month, even though they gave you 4 pay stubs for their 4 weeks they were paid. So make sure you keep that one straight. Otherwise, you'd get some really bad information. Likewise, again, those categories that then you put in that dollar amount, and it will do the math for you. If, like most of our clients, over 90-some% of our clients every year are doing heat certificates, and so that's where the heat certificate data goes. The new heat certificate, I don't even have an example of the new heat certificate. I have viewed what I think is going to be the final version, and it still shows you the earned, unearned, medical, and everything. It's just in a different place now, but all those different numbers are there, as well as the percentage of poverty, and those are where all that data would get entered. Like I said, we'll go ahead and just put something in here just so you can see how it populates over. And in this case, we'll say there's 4 people there. And so you can see again, it comes in because I left the city blank. It will also stay blank or give you a 0 until you go back and populate that. Like I said, in this particular, I do have some sample data we're going to use here. Like I said, you're entering that information for the natural gas and decatherms, and then the electrical in kilowatts, along with their associated expense starting from January through December. One of the things to remember, I know sometimes you get clients that don't have any or a short history. They just moved in anywhere from a few months ago. So if you have 1 to 11 months of usage data, still go ahead and put that in. Obviously, if it's less than about 6, there's not going to be anything really meaningful taken from that. But in some scenarios, you could have a household, even in that short period of time, that could be using a significant amount of energy that might draw some red flags, and you want to bring that, let that tool bring that to your attention. That was part of the reason it was designed for this. And so in this case, every intake person wishes it was this easy to put all this data in. Bam. It seems like it takes forever to key all that in. And actually, in this particular household, the data I had, there were 6 people. And they were 48% of poverty, and their earned income was, there we go. It didn't like the decimals, or I put 13,000. One too many 3s. There we go. So once it does that, you can see down here, it's going to go ahead and calculate their energy user and burden percentages, which will drive the percentage, or excuse me, the priority points and things like that. And you can see once you come over to this tab that's already populated, You will need to select these, if there's elderly or disabled, the preschool age children, you select the quantity. One of the things I wanted to point out, if you fail to select the number of households here or people in the household here, is it will mess with your poverty information here. You see how that went to the NA error? That's an example of one of those errors where it's looking for some type of data. So once you go ahead and populate that, then it can say, okay, it'll go read the percentage of poverty and calculate that out. So that's always something to remember. If you're getting that kind of an error there, that's usually what's driving it. And that all is still the same way it used to work. There's nothing that's changed on that. The only updates that we've really made are, we make to the percentage of poverty tables every winter when those new things come out to us. But here's where the magic happens, where the new excitement comes into play. And so thanks to Burl Kinoshita, who helped me do this, I stole the idea for this fair and square for some people from Montana. And I worked with Burl down in MAG to build the newer part of the tool. He put a lot of time into getting it to do all this auto charting and stuff. But you can see it pulls all the usage data over from the energy burden tab, and then it graphs out for you so that you can start visually seeing where their highs and lows are, and start drawing some attention to that. As we talked in the class that I taught in technical training, when it comes to electricity, typically, that base load is going to be over the summer if they don't have central air or those shoulder months through the winter. If you start seeing those high peak usage of electricity in the winter, that gives you a strong indication that they're probably using a lot of electricity to supplemental heat the home, whether it be space heat or other electric space heaters or other things going on. And so this is one of the tools we're trying to give you to help you better visualize the information and actually do something with it to make an impact with the client. Down here you see a whole lot of other conditional formatted, and all that's doing is pulling out different chunks of the usage data to come up with these different things. I know over time, Greg and I worked, or excuse me, Burl, sorry, Burl, you're not your brother. But Burl and I worked to kind of come up with some best guess ranges for the low, mediums, highs on these things. We know over time we'll probably need to refine these a little bit better, but we had to start somewhere. But this is the first cell or first group of cells here is base load consumption. And so it's taking a look at the lowest 3 months of usage and averaging that out. And that is, again, what the household is typically using every month. And that's, lighting, convenience appliances, and things like that. And then we separate out what the seasonal usage is. We kept it at 6-month windows just to make it easy. So we split it between winter and summer. And based off of those seasonal usages, again, we put in some estimates of what we believe would constitute low, medium, and high. And in this particular example, you see that the household does not have central air or anything like that. You can see their summer usage through the hot months of June, July are actually pretty low. And so again, we believe we're close on these consumptions. And so, yeah, 3,625 kilowatts across the summer, that's not going to be too bad. But then you do see they went into the yellow down there for winter. And then for summer, they did hit just up into the yellow. And then the last number way down here is just that annual usage. And that number there is based upon, you'll recall in the class I talked about in section C10 of the guidelines, where we set the thresholds for average low-income household consumption of electricity and natural gas. And that's what that lower section is. That's based upon when we start reaching that threshold for priority points and things like that. So this household was getting close, but they were not over. And when you start looking at a household of 6 people, that's a household that the washer and dryer are running constantly, obviously, because they've got a lot of kids in the house, and they're going to, a lot of cooking and stuff going on too. So there's always going to be a lot higher electrical usage. And if you got kids at home, they can't leave a light switch off. They have to turn every light on and leave it. So any questions on the electrical section? Oh, I got one chat comment. Anyway, anything about the electrical? Anyone? Is this thing on? I hear crickets chirping. I guess. I don't know. Nobody's answered. Not even my own people. Awesome. All right. So moving over.
Brad.
Yo. Hey, Romney, what's up?
Good, Brad.
Oh, thanks. Like I said, Burl did a lot of the heavy lifting. I just did a little bit of suggesting and fine tuning before we pushed it out.
Thanks, Burl.
Yeah. One of the other things is energy index. We've been asking you guys to do that. The audit tool does that for you as well. But we also built that into this particular tool. And so for this particular household, it was 2,204 square feet. And you'll see here, the next thing you got to go get is the heating degree days. And we've always wanted you all to work from the same heating degree calculator. So we built in this hyperlink right here. So if you, and it's an active link. So if if your computer's connected to the internet, it will go out and get it. And it will take you to the Energy Star heating degree day calculator. And, again, straightforward. And let's see, this, I can't remember the zip code for this place. I don't have it with me. Yikes.
For the training center?
No, for this particular client, it was 84642. There we go. So this particular client, and then we, oops, forgot to put the dates in. Yikes. And this one, the end date was November 30th of 2018. And so that's all you got to do. And what the year ending date, you're going to get from their billing history. So if you have a full 12-month billing history, you would pick that end date or the last month of the 12-month period and enter it in there. And then you'll see down here, it gives you the annual heating degree days. In this case, it was 5269. And that's the number that you're searching for that you want to put into the calculator, into the tool. And it will do the rest for you. So what was that? It's 5269. And now it's done your energy index. And you notice it gives you an energy index of 1, but mind you, this tool, it has to calculate for both electrical and for natural gas. And so you're only using the energy index for the primary heating source. And so back here on energy burden, you have to select the primary heating fuel. And then likewise, even though you get an energy index number here on electricity, this particular home's primary heating source is natural gas, and we're going to use the number from this tab. So you'll see that information populated over and it recalculated, and in this case, they came in at a 6.5. That's the number that's going to go on the BWR. That's the number you want to be working from. Has everybody got that?
So you don't want us to use the energy index from the NEAT audit anymore. You want us to use it from the workbook.
I'm non-denominational. It's the same formula. They calculate. In theory, the numbers should be identical, maybe there's a little bit of rounding going on in theirs versus mine, but you should get the same number. So I don't really care, but we're just trying to make it one-stop shopping.
Okay, thank you.
Because
I don't know about your rounding errors, Carrie Lynn.
Yeah, rounding errors. Yeah, that's
I like pennies.
Obviously. So here you can see now that the natural gas data plotted here. Again, now you have this very traditional plot with your peaks on both ends for the cooling months, or excuse me, the heating months, and the big trough over the summer months. Again, real easy to calculate the base load on this household. Their base load for natural gas as well as their heating and annual usage. And this particular household, you see down here on the right, this annual usage field, how they did, at 91.5, that tripped the the threshold, because that number, like we talked about in the training for natural gas usage for low-income households in the States, is around 59.4, if I remember right. So this house is using a significantly larger, but at the same time, 6 kids. And this would be one of those things that, you know, when you're trying to investigate that, it might be that you go out there and you find they have a natural gas dryer. Well, 6 people in the household, a bunch of kids, the dryer's running nonstop, their natural gas usage is going to be much higher. Probably not so much. If we look here in June, July, and August, that consumption would not seem to indicate anything other than domestic hot water. That's my own opinion, but that's like we talked about in that class, where this is the early reconnaissance before you even go to the home. So again, you can gain a lot of information about what's going on in the household, and hopefully this tool will help you better dissect that information and process it and use it in a good way. Natural gas tab. Anybody got any questions on that one? All righty. Hearing none. Silence is acceptance, or what's that word? The next section here is client ed. So like I said, if you sat through my presentation, like I said, we know our clients are using a lot of electricity when they electric space heat. I wanted to try to come up with a tool that would better help you as an agency communicate that information clearly to the client. And so, as you know, the idea behind this is, you know, whether you have it up and running on your computer or tablet out there in the field, or when you come back to the office, or whatever the case may be, but it's a simple yes/no drop down here on whether or not the client is using space heaters. And then if you can get the information, I put just 2. I think it drives the point home. If there was a large demand from the network to add more than 2 as an option for the space heaters, I can. In this case, we'll just put the 1 example in, and then again, just like in my presentation, I talked about being a little bit conservative. I still just have 1 to 12 hours of usage on this. And this is one of those sections where, again, it's doing that hard assumption just based off of some fixed cost in the tool. And so you can see that 1 space heater, you know, just like I talked about in the presentation, $187 a day, $55.97 for the month, and a potential 6-month heating season savings of $335. And again, we've given you some comment fields to make. Likewise, there was some discussion about maybe what that second fridge costs the client in some case. And this is, again, just using some hard assumptions based off of some Energy Star and Department of Energy data on what fridges consume in a year. And so it's just looking at what their electrical consumption is and applying that assumption that Department of Energy offers up for what a refrigerator consumes in a month. And so you can see here that their potential savings monthly could be just about $7.40 if they were to get rid of that second refrigerator. But knowing that clients, just like ourselves, they tend to do things better visually, we built in some automatic graphs and charts here to help do that for you. And so on the client ed portion of this thing, the first thing we show them is their household income during the heating season. So again, it's looking at that 6 months of income and then showing them that this is how much that they're spending. So during the heating season, 15% of their household income during that period is going towards heating their home. Like I said, we've made some assumptions that they're not using central air. You can see that their income during the cooling season is not as impacted because it doesn't appear that they have much of a cooling cost against that. And then their total energy burden, which was calculated at 7%, you know, and just showing that in relation to their annual income. So trying to give them some visual representation of what their energy, their behavior is costing them through the different times of the year. And then on the space heating and the second refrigerator cost, again, we're showing them just an example that space heating is costing them roughly 3% of their income a month, and that refrigerator is actually accounting for about 12% of their monthly electrical cost on average. And like I said, we hope that these types of tools will maybe have a little bit better impact than just trying to talk to them. This is something that you could, like I said, print off and leave with them, or likewise, you could send it to them in a follow-up, depending on whatever works. The one thing about this tool, it's yours to use. How it integrates into your agency, how you all will find a way to work this into your flow is entirely up to you. The consumption tabs and all that other stuff, the new tabs, there's nothing about that that's mandatory. We haven't put anything into the guidelines or policy. It's purely up to you all to find a way to utilize it to better serve our clients and to help maybe educate them on what's going on in their house. Likewise, there is a tremendous opportunity for your agency to better prepare the auditor before they go to the home with this information, so that they can go out and have maybe some things to be looking for. And like I said, it will give you a better idea of how to make a better impact to the home if you start seeing some of that information. So that being said, I know everybody is always very quiet and doesn't have much to say, but this is the part where I turn over to you and you all talk.
Thanks, everybody, for all the great work you do.
Good, Brad. Hey,
Well,
I've got some questions about it, but I'll probably email you a little later about them.
okay, no worries. Like I said, again, I asked a follow-up question here a couple days ago about, or yesterday, I guess, about the feedback. This has been out in the hands of some of the people in intake and stuff to beta test, but I'm getting really close to switching this on for realsies and sending it out to you. So if you're interested in seeing anything else, or you have any ideas now that we've gone through this presentation, I need to hear them in the next day or two. I'd like to get this pushed out, hopefully in the next week or so. So
You keep putting tools in my toolbox like that, Brad, and I'm gonna have to buy a bigger one.
well, fortunately, Jesse's got a card that you can use. It's not a problem. I'm sure he can go get you one.
Well, I got a card too.
Oh, well, then there you go. Problem solved. Just don't get any kind of deluxe, supercharged with flames and,
Well, we're talking plain Jane, but just a bigger one.
okay. All right.
Also, I just want to reiterate, because I know a couple of you came on late, I apologize for the erroneous information I passed along about the 15-year rolling date. It's still in contention up there in the place where people just fight with each other. So,
And if you're curious, there was, I guess, a question that got asked before the meeting got started. There has been discussion. There has been some language drafted that at some point could potentially adjust the reweatherization date. At this time, that has not changed. It's still 94, like it has been, and will continue to be. At some point, if the legislature can ever agree to the reauthorization language for our program, that would be one of the things that does get changed. I've been involved in the meetings with one of the groups that represent us and the legislators that have been working on that bill, and they have heard us. They understand how important it is to get that updated. But at this point in time, until we can get Congress to agree on anything, we're never going to see a change on that, unfortunately. So any other questions or things out there we just met, well, the bulk of us just met a few weeks ago, and we had a good opportunity. Hopefully, again, the guys and I have been going through the course evaluations. We appreciate all the feedback that you've given us on there. There was a couple comments, again, apologize. Normally we do better on lunches, but given the current state of affairs, we had no choice but to go with prepackaged and box lunches and things like that. Once the world maybe turns into something that resembles being normal, we can get back to barbecue and all the things that we enjoy. So, anything else? Likewise, too, if any of you, I've got to start working on the agenda for the November coordinators training. So if you have any agenda items, please forward those to me the next day or so I can include those. All right, Mr. Turner, I'll give you your meeting back.
I don't have anything else to add. Just thank you guys for attending. I'll send out the normal email with the certificate of attendance, and we'll include the links that CFO gave us along with that that sample case. So I'd encourage you guys to take a few minutes now if you can, or later this afternoon when you get the email, to watch her training so you can get an idea of what the new SealWorks stuff looks like. And just appreciate all you guys do. Thank you.
All righty, guys. Thanks again. Good rest of the week. Enjoy your hunting season. I know it's going. We'll talk to you later.
Guys.